planning and review, and I expect that to date a minimum of $50,000 plus has been spent on this project with no end in sight. When this configuration was first set up on the streets, I asked myself, what prompted this activity and the costs? I asked Mayor Snodgrass earlier this year to provide me with fact-based evidence of the dangers of this intersection. Mainly, in the last 20 years or so, how many traffic accidents occurred at this intersection? And of those accidents, how many included property damage in excess of $5,000? And of those accidents at the intersection, if there were any, how many resulted in personal injuries? Regarding speeding, how often did law enforcement staff set up radar sites to catch speeders on High Country Drive? How often were traffic monitoring devices set up to determine if speeding was a problem here? To date, I have not received a reply. And I make the assumption that no fact-based evidence or data actually exists. And without such evidence, there is in fact no problem. And with this intersection, and with no problem, there's no correction required. What you have, as advised by your staffer at the meeting of the COW 2 weeks ago, are a few citizen complaints of speeding, which remains unverified. And yet, you responded in a most dramatic and expensive manner. Mayor Snodgrass told me that the real problem was lack of sight line to this intersection, and that the former council was considering a redesign to include some permanent curb extensions. After what I heard you speak about at the meeting of the COW on November 10, it appears that you might also be leaning in that direction. Wrong approach. More money wasted in addition to the $50,000 plus already down the drain. Since September, I've been paying very close attention to this sightline assertion, and I note that when stopped at the stop sign going west, way back at 7th Street, I can clearly see the intersection and the stop sign in question. But while the line of sight is clear, but admittedly it's a bit too far away to be relative to this issue. I'm looking for some pictures, but that's not the one I want. The first picture was number 1. Back all the way to the other end, please. Farther. That's all the pictures you show? I sent more than that. I'm disappointed to see that they're not all there. Okay, just back up a bit there. We'll live with that one. Back one more, please. No, the other way. Let's see. Okay, farther. It should be the first one that whoever is doing this. It should be the first one that was on the series. Okay, stop there. So I took some pictures. This picture of this house here is the first home on the north side that's adjacent to High Country Drive, west of 7th Street. So if you note the walkway and the gate and the fence, you can take the next picture now, please. So I walked from that place directly out onto the road. And I'm looking westward there, and you can see the intersection quite clearly there, as well as the stop sign. Next picture, please. So from this picture here, I walked up to the corner of what is High Country Drive and High Country Place, which is that cul-de-sac. So you can see here that I can see just a little bit of the intersection, not much, but the stop sign is pretty clear. Next picture, please. So now I walked out into what would be almost the driver's position. From that corner, I can see more at the intersection, but I can't see the stop sign anymore. One more picture, please. So Obviously, in the last picture, there was a truck there parked, which is why you couldn't see the stop sign. Sometime later, I was driving down the road and I noticed that the truck was gone. So now I'm standing in exactly the same place where I was before. Now there's no truck parked, and clearly you can see the entire intersection and the stop sign. So, a clear view of the intersection and the stop sign. So the alleged problem at this intersection is clearly not one of poor road design, nor a plethora of accidents, nor of poor sight lines. The $50,000 plus already spent could have been avoided with a gallon of yellow paint and a no parking sign. And the same remedy could be applied in the diagonal portion of this intersection, that is, for the eastbound traffic approaching the intersection. Regarding the temporary pushouts, those on Highland Green Drive and on High Country Gate serve absolutely no purpose in slowing traffic and have no impact on pedestrian safety. Neither do those on High Country Drive going west or east after traffic has crossed the intersection. And the remaining impact on the few that are left are marginal at best. If you were perhaps a bit unsure of the community's response to the question of this matter, I remind you of the very, very significant response to the question that was posed by candidate Kellogg at the all-candidate forums meeting. With respect, I ask Council to step away from the actions taken to date and to 1. Remove all the temporary curb pushouts. 2. Establish a no parking zone on the north side of High Country Drive between High Country Place and Highland Green Drive, and that you also establish a similar no parking zone on the south side of High Country Drive approaching the intersection. And that you provide, number 3, and that you provide enforcement for these parking zones. Finally, in the matter of the crosswalk safety, I suggest you use one common crosswalk to accommodate golf cart and pedestrian traffic adjacent to the intersection. And if you are truly concerned about pedestrian safety, I recommend you install a pedestrian-activated flashing yellow light at the crosswalk. You could sell the 39 temporary curb pushouts and finance the cost of such an installation. You might also consider a remote push button along the cart paths for golfers to activate the light from the seat of their golf cart. The golf course would likely pay for them. Finally, I remind you that at the all-candidate forum, all of you promised to be open, honest, transparent, and to listen. I do hope that you will not only hear me today, but also to listen. Thank you. If you have questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, same message that you delivered to the committee of the whole meeting
Pretty
2
well.
weeks ago, right? Which, when we looked at it at that meeting, that we all agreed on a couple of changes that we have sent back to administration, and looking at a new design for it, as well as costing as to what it would cost, but which will be coming back for decision in the December meeting. One being the common crosswalk that we've overlaid. The golf carts and the pedestrians will be on the one crosswalk. So, but we'll take everything under consideration with what you've brought to us, and absolutely one of the options that council has is to do nothing.
Okay.
So,
thank you very much. I wanted to get it on the record. I know I spoke at the cow a little bit. I wanted to get it on the record.
Yeah.
Thank you for hearing me.
Yeah. You appreciate it. Thanks, Al. Any other questions from council for Al before we're done? Good. Okay. First item of business, FCSS Community Grant Program Task Force. Jody?
Yes, thank you. I am speaking to this item both on behalf of Legislative Services as well as Shelley Coote, our Manager of Community Support Services. So the FCSS Community Grant Program is receives applications once a year. And the task force was developed in 2023 to allow for there to be more than just the manager of CSS to award these grants and to allow council to have some input into the grants. So before council today is a recommendation that council appoint 3 members to the FCS task force, which meets just once a year. And the 3 members are Mayor Craig Snodgrass, Councillor Jamie Barton, and Councillor Vicky McGonigal. And that appointment would be until October 29th, 2029, and then they would only be called into service or action once a year, which is typically at the beginning of each year. Does council have any questions regarding these appointments?
Pretty simple housekeeping item. Councillor McGonigal, would you like to give this motion, please? You. Sorry. I know I need to speak louder. I'm sorry.
I'm happy to sit on the task force. I'm not sure, as I'm being appointed, that I should be the one making the motion. That's just my thoughts on it.
I don't think it matters.
Well, I guess I'll, if you want me to make it, I mean, I'm happy to sit on it, but again, I'll make the motion that, I'm finding the names here again. Where did they go? I'm just looking for the names.
Right here, actually. Right here, Vicky.
Oh, yeah. I'll make the motion then that council appoint Mayor Snodgrass, Councillor Barton, and Councillor McGonigal to the FCSS Community Grant Program Task Force with the terms expiring October 29, 2029.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any questions, comments from council? See none, hear none. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Item 5.2, wastewater treatment facility upgrade. Andrea's here.
Can barely see you, Councillor Cree. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am here to provide an update on the wastewater treatment facility upgrade project, as well as to request direction regarding a regional facility. The town is required by our Alberta Environment and Protected Areas approval to submit an application for an upgrade to our wastewater treatment facility that will meet current standards. We are currently aiming to submit this application for the upgrade before December 31st, 2026. This project was last presented to Council in the regular meeting on September 25th, 2023, with a request for decision on supporting an Alberta Community Partnership grant application for a feasibility study of a regional project with Foothills County. Since that meeting in 2023, the feasibility study for the regional project has been completed and shows a possible savings of up to $46.7 million that would be shared between the town and Foothills County over 25 years. Upon presentation of the feasibility study and the accompanying receiving stream analysis to Alberta Environment and Protected Areas, additional review of the receiving stream analysis was deemed required due to elevated stream sensitivity to temperature fluctuations. It is important to note that this additional review is required in order to continue to explore the feasibility of a regional wastewater treatment facility for Foothills County and the town of High River, and would also be required if at any point in time the town wished to discharge to the Highwood River instead of Frank Lake. The resolutions before you request council's support on continuing exploring the regional facility with Foothills County. supporting a change order for further work on the receiving stream analysis, and supporting an Alberta Community Partnership grant application for this analysis. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions from council?
Thanks, Andrea. Councillor Cooey?
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Andrew, because this is kind of the first time I've had a conversation about the wastewater. Just trying to understand, because initially the town's objective was to continue to use the lagoon system and improve that. My understanding, if I'm correct, is that this is a different system that we would be doing if we did it jointly with the county. Do you feel overall it's a better system than the lagoon system?
So the system would utilize our lagoons for, sorry, it's hard, I can't see you there.
Sorry, it's okay, Andrew.
It would utilize the lagoons for equalization and storage, but not for treatment. We have had this reviewed by an external consulting firm, and they have recommended they have reviewed the treatment solutions and believe that they would provide the appropriate effluent qualities that our approval requires.
Fantastic. And then just so I'm clear in reading the materials, that the cost savings primarily will be operational savings over that time, not capital.
Yeah, that is correct. And those details would still need to be worked out between the town and the county, as this was a feasibility study at this stage, so not into the detailed design.
Fair enough. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
Councillor McGonigal?
Thank you. One question I have is, we're proposing to spend another 200,000, right?
It would be 100,000 for the town's portion.
Right. How did we come to that, in approaching this study, how did we come to a 50-50 share? Is that based on assessment, population, usage? What's the basis of that?
There hasn't been a detailed split of that, but the town and county both have an interest in the project, and in speaking with the county, they also agreed that a 50% share of this additional scope would be reasonable.
I guess I'm still looking for a reason why 50-50 split is reasonable, but thank you. You've answered that question.
Okay.
I'll take the 50-50 because I don't think it'll go in our favor the other way. So my question is on Frank Lake versus the Highwood. You know, the Frank Lake discharge was always supported by Ducks Unlimited, and it's the reason why it is the place that it is today. So with this change, would all our effluent discharge possibly be going directly back to the Highwood and nothing to Frank Lake, or how does... I know you might not be able to give me the definitive answer right now, but where's the discussion?
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
We're exploring the options. The initial option would be to send what would be Foothills County effluent to the Highwood, and the remainder to Frank Lake, like what would be Town of High Rivers. However, there have been some capacity challenges in our Frank Lake force main this past summer with the heavy rainflow that we saw, and we had asked MPE to review the possibility of sending all the effluent to Frank Lake as kind of an option to see if that would be worth exploring, or if it would be worth exploring twinning the force main. So to have a few options to be able to make a decision later on.
For sure. And Cargill would still go to Frank Lake.
Yeah, that's
as well, right?
That's what I would understand. Okay. Yeah, there's been no discussion for changes with Cargill at this point.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, Councillor, are you back in the queue?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
How was the selection of MPE as the leader of this project made?
We had procured them through So the procurement was made back in 2021. It would have been through our procurement process at the town. I believe it would have been posted on ACP. I could confirm that, but it would have followed our procurement process at the town.
So was that jointly with the MD, or did we make that decision alone, or?
We had made it alone at that point, and discussions with the county had come into play in 2023, and they were comfortable with utilizing MPE for this continued work.
Thank you.
Councillor McGonigal, would you like me to confirm how they were procured?
I accept what you say. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Any more questions from council? See none, hear none. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Barton. The council continue to support the exploration of a regional facility based on the recommendations and projected cost savings shown in the feasibility study, and the council support the county's submission of a 2025-26 Alberta Community Partnership Grant application in support of the Regional Wastewater Environmental Assessment Study Project, and the council direct administration to approve a change order with MPE to support completing the stream sensitivity analysis in the amount not to exceed $200,000, including 20% contingency, that will be shared equally between Foothills County and the Town of High River, and that the Town of High River's contribution be funded from the existing wastewater treatment facility upgrade capital budget.
Yeah, my motion, Mayor.
Thank you. Questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Thank you. Councillor board and committee reports. Anybody? See none. Public. Go ahead. Is there somebody? Well, that mic's still on. Public comments. First one we have is a request to speak from Mr. John Turner regarding High Country Drive.
Snodgrass, Council. Good afternoon. My name is John Turner. I've lived in High River since January of 2010. I live in the northwest section of town in High Park area. So I have a personal interest in High Country Drive because it is the main route to and from home for me, and as an observer of the activities at the intersection of High Country Drive and Highgate View. So my purpose today here is to speak to briefing note BN 2549, High Country Drive and Highview Gate temp traffic summary, which was submitted to council on November 10th. And also to share my comments, conclusions, and recommendations based on BN 2549. BN 2549, as presented, I found it difficult to follow. So consequently, I arranged it into chronological order, and then an interesting chronicle emerged. It was interesting for what is reported and repeated, and what is not reported, the omissions. So my first conclusion was that what is described in BN 2549 does not define a project with the expected checks and balances of project management. For example, there is no constraints or limitations on budget, time, scope, etc., or work plan, schedule, critical path, or milestones. What emerges from BN 2549 is a series of activities and expenditures conducted piece by piece, and a scope that has evolved and expanded over 3.5 years. What is not in BN 2549 is a succinct status report of costs, progress, results, budget requests, pending approval, and projections of future costs. Therefore, it is reasonable to conclude taxpayers are unaware of total cost, future plans, and expenditures, and that if a fully costed status report and projections were publicly presented, it would unlikely pass the acceptance test with taxpayers. My other conclusion was that BN 2549 makes it known that town administration has assumed full responsibility, accountability, and particularly liability for relocating 100% at taxpayers' expense a private club's crossing of a public road. What is not in BN 2549 is any discussion on who is responsible, accountable, and liable for Highwood Golf's private crossing of High Country Drive. What is not in BN 2549 is any indication that Highwood Golf volunteered to or was asked to relocate the crossing, or that Highwood Golf volunteered to or was asked to bear or share the cost of relocating their private crossing. If this were a private citizen, this would be a local improvement. Why is this not a local improvement? Therefore, it is reasonable to conclude taxpayers are unaware of the cost to relocate the private crossing and of the town's potential liability, and that if this information were publicly presented, it would unlikely pass the acceptance test with taxpayers. So other takeaways I had, early traffic observations indicated minimal speeding through the then two-way intersection. Average speed was clocked at 37 kPa. Just a sidebar, they did clock one driver at 79 kPa. I certainly hope he received a ticket, he or she did. Subsequent traffic observations were not conducted to assess the efficacy of the changes made at the intersection. Also, the consultants never recommended a four-way stop and bump out curbs. That was never their recommendation. 300 meters east is the busiest four-way stop in High River at the intersection of High Country Drive and 7th Street, which was never considered as a standard. Uncontrolled expansion of scope, also called scope creep, is a major cost driver. My recommendations are council suspends all further activities and expenditures until an independent, impartial review audit is conducted and presented to council. Council rescinds the presumption of Phase 2 approval by removing all temporary bump-out curbs from the intersection. And Council asks Highwood Golf to close the golf path entrances to High Country Drive during the off-season. As it is now, somebody might decide to drive four-wheel drives or snowmobiles across the road, who knows. It doesn't need to be open in the off-season. So I have two questions for administration and council. Is there a total dollars spent to date related to this intersection? And what is the total dollars projected to finish all of the proposed solutions to this problem? And the second question is, does the town of High River have indemnity for damage, loss, or injury involving a golf course incident at that crossing? Thank you. Questions?
Thanks, John. A lot of information in there. Are you able to submit that
Yes.
to us?
I have it on a memory stick.
Yeah.
And if you're interested, I have the rearranged BN 2549 in a chronological order. So it begins with meetings of May 22nd, I think, of 2022, and ends with BN 2549, which was prepared on November 3rd.
Anything you have that you wish to submit, throw it on the memory stick, and that'll go to all of council so that we can review it and get you the answers you're looking for back at the next meeting.
Okay. Any other questions or?
Anything else? See none, hear none.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Yep, thank you. Anyone else wish to present public comments?
Uh-oh. Chair's got me. Got it.
Thanks, John.
Is this on? Okay. So I just want to add a bit more to Al Brander's information. I know that there was $70,000 spent for this first study and $130,000 for the second study. So that could also go in his report for the studies. But I'm going to talk on your bylaw 4590/2021 council procedure bylaw. Do I need to read it out?
It's up to you.
Where I get my 2 minutes to ask any question, and it doesn't have to be on the agenda. So Riley's not here, but maybe Sonia. Back in February 10th council meeting, there was a report brought forth that was written in January on the 42% of the water loss, treated water loss. My question to you, after 11 months, what has the town done to try to locate this? And I would really like a report of what has been done so far, because nothing has been brought forward since then. Mm-hmm. We need to know little bits. If you don't have little bits or big bits, it needs to be brought forward to the public, because that's a pretty serious report.
I don't know that I can give you a lot of information. As you mentioned, that's Riley's report. I do believe it's coming forward. Is it December or January? Do you remember? They are currently working on it, though, so there is more information coming, Maureen.
Well, it'd be nice if every couple of months someone would tell us, okay, we've checked this, we've checked that. So be it. We don't need to wait. That'll be over a year that this report has been out, and we're finally hearing about it. So I think every couple of months, it should be on the council meetings, an update, just like you do the pool. Same thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will bring it forward. Did you find it, Chair? January. It's coming back in January.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to be honest, Maureen, that's a number that Riley put out there that day that caught all of us off guard, because we were of the impression it was about half of that. But the big piece of what he's working on is what all is encompassing in that. Is it actual water loss, or is it things like the fire hydrant flushing? When the fire department goes around and flushes every single hydrant in town every single year, that's a lot of water loss that isn't documented with how much water they have to use per hydrant. So that's a part of Riley's, and I'll let Riley do his report and submit it back in January.
Well, regarding the fire hydrants, there is no reason when they blow out those fire hydrants that they don't have a water truck there and they're blowing it into the water truck. Then the town has water available to water the trees instead of going down the gutter.
Okay, fair.
That would be an easy way to calculate how much water is coming out of the hydrant.
Yeah, you can put a meter on it too. Yeah, and whether it's going down the street or into
Well, you
a
may as
water
well-
truck, you put a meter on it and they can calculate it. It's just something hasn't been done, because it's more work for the fire department to put a meter on every time they go to hydrant and
I'm not
document
saying-
all that stuff. So
Blow it into a water tank. Use it to water the trees, plants around town.
yeah, fair idea. Thank you. Anyone else? Public comments? Floyd?
This water thing you guys have had going on, we've had the same problem in 2005, 6, and 7. This is an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
What the problem was
Can you sit at the mic? Because we're live streaming and stuff, Floyd and everybody.
sorry.
So everybody can hear. Floyd Langenhoff.
I determined back in 2006 that this wasn't actually a leakage problem. Les at that time was shutting off various sections of the town, checking the pressure overnight, and there was no pressure drop. So that means there was no leak, right? What the problem, I believe, is the metering system. Your meters, every individual meter in your house wears. And there's actually metering companies like Neptune that will give you a computer program that will determine what the actual wear is on the meter depending on its age. And I think that's where a lot of your water loss is coming from.
Yeah,
Because we went through this. This has been going on
yeah.
for decades.
It's always going on in every community. There's
Right.
no community that
Yeah.
has zero water loss.
Yeah,
Like, there's
but
too
at the
many
time,
places.
I think this is a simple way to check. You can get a hold of whoever supplies your meters now. I'm sure they'll have that same program.
Yeah, no, and I know that was discussed with Riley, as
Right.
Riley brought the meter piece up at the
Yeah.
one meeting, and that's part of this report, as far as I'm concerned. As far as
Yeah.
I know, the way Riley talked, that'll be part of this report.
Well, if I remember correctly, I believe that there was actually a big discrepancy between the amount of water that the town claimed to send to Cargill and the amount that they received.
Yeah.
So you see, this is a mechanical issue, I believe, is a big part of it.
Well, yes, and the Cargill piece was an issue until we redid
Right.
where the metering took place right on the border between the county and High River. So I think that one's because we don't calculate the county's water loss anymore. They pay for what goes out there, and if it leaks into the ground, well, they still pay us for it, right? But this is an ongoing thing, and yeah, Floyd, when you were on council, you guys dealt with it too, and you guys were pretty
Well,
aggressive.
but
in tearing
nobody
streets
ever
up and-
checked it, Craig.
Yeah.
Our engineer, like, oh, well, we don't want to deal with this outfit because we're dealing with this outfit, and then we'll feel obligated to buy something from them. No,
Right.
that's not how it works. Just go find out.
Fair
And the other thing I just wanted to mention quickly is the golf course is closed, right? There's no carts crossing the road anymore. So why is that stuff still there? And it's not, I've had a class 1 for 40 years. You guys have actually made that intersection unsafe. Because now somebody that's pulling a trailer or anything cannot navigate a right-hand turn coming from, say, the south or anywhere they're making a right-hand turn without their vehicle going into the opposing lane of traffic. It's physically impossible, and that makes it dangerous.
Yep.
So the way I see it, and a lot of guys I talk to at the golf course, get rid of it for the winter. You've got the little slots there, forklift, boom, 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 away you go. Okay.
I'm with you. Thanks, Floyd. Anyone else? Sir? Do you got something? Just a comment. Okay, go ahead, Vicki.
Just a follow-up on what Floyd said. My neighbor who drives a passenger vehicle, not a truck, not a pickup, whatever, had occasion to go through that intersection this weekend. And she said in order to navigate the corner, she had to drive into opposing traffic in order to get around the corner. So I do think it's unsafe the way it is, but.
Go ahead, sir. What's your name?
My name is James Young. I live in Highview Point in the northwest. I go through that intersection fairly regularly, obviously. Just want to mention the challenge with trailers, people pulling trailers that have been going through that intersection. I've witnessed this many times. The additional piece to that, other than having to pull out into the opposing lane when you're making that corner, is the situation of while people are waiting for that lane to clear so they can pull out to make that corner, people forget whose turn it is.
On the four-way.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the potential for some challenges there are pretty high. And I've got about 3.5 million miles under my belt, and never in all my travels anywhere on this planet have I seen an intersection like that one. So if somebody has, please bring it to my attention, because I'd really enjoy quizzing some other people about it. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, James. Anyone else?
Can I make a supplementary comment
Yeah, go ahead, John.
based on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. In BN 2549, the reason that those yellow bump outs are there in that particular layout is literally a placeholder. It delineates what the permanent curbs will look like if you proceed with that. And I don't think a lot of people know that, but it is in BN 2549. It's simply a placeholder, and that's what that intersection will look like if you proceed with it. There won't be yellows, it'll be permanent curb and gutter out that far. So that's just, and that's why I said in that one recommendation is to rescind the presumption of approval of phase 2, because that is what would happen. They'll all be replaced with permanent.
Yeah, just because it's in that document does not make that defined, but because we sent it back to staff, one of the pieces that came out of the last committee of the whole meeting was, number one, the layover of the two crosswalks. The other one was to eliminate the bump outs on the north-south arterial, and to reduce the radiuses of the existing bump outs, to see how tight can we get, if council still wishes to have the bump outs, can we reduce the radiuses? So just because it's in that report does not mean it's locked in stone. Council can change it at the next meeting.
But it's in the report, so.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay,
Thanks, John.
I just wanted to clarify that because I don't think everybody understands that.
That's fair. Yeah, thanks, John. Maureen?
I want to tell you about an experience I had yesterday coming down High Country Drive, coming into town. I see an ambulance coming. I'm just about getting to the stop sign. Not stopped. We passed just before the stop sign. Then the fire truck was coming. I drive a bigger vehicle. There's no way we would have both got through there. I had to pull off, closing the entrances to the two High Country or Highview gate, because there's no way we could have got through. I looked back and I thought, if those bump outs were gone, the fire truck could have got by me. But there's no way he would have got by me with me not moving. So it is, for bigger vehicles, it is a problem.
Is it not law that when an emergency vehicle comes with sirens and stuff going, that you pull over to the
Well,
side
I
of the
couldn't
road
really
wherever
drive
you are
over
so
the
that you can-
curb over your bump outs to move over.
But you pull over and you stop, Maureen.
There wasn't enough room.
You just said there was, though. You pulled over and you were in the
I
middle
pulled-
of that intersection.
because
Like,
he
I'm
was
sorry, but
coming.
that's part of driving laws and driving rules when an
There's-
emergency vehicle's coming at you.
Well, I would have gone up on the bump outs. If you wanted me to pull over right then, I had to move forward and go so he could go by.
Exactly. No, fair.
And I stopped.
And what you did is the law. Like it's.
I understand that. But my thing is, if those bump outs weren't there, I could have just waited at the stop sign. I didn't have to jut over so he could come by.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Anyone else? We're good. Okay, item number 8, council correspondence for information, correspondence regarding 605 McLeod Trail, correspondence from Foothills Country Hospice, from the High River District Healthcare Foundation, and correspondence from the town of Nanton. Anything else from council? Meeting adjourned, 3:46.